Good evening, everyone. This is Ron. It's after 6 p.m., so we'll go ahead and get started and see if we have any questions. Uh, on yesterday, we continued our discussion in Genesis, and we talked about heaven and earth. We talked about mainly light and darkness and gaining a better understanding of that. Uh, and we talked about some other things that I can't recall just yet. I'm terrible at recall. But what questions or that you guys might have? Maybe something you've seen. Uh, we are continuing to be prayerful for those who were caught in the storm and lost their belongings, and even some that lost their lives. Uh, we try to be alert of everything that's going on in our environment. So that's certainly one that has grabbed our attention. But what do you guys have in any questions or comments? I
Oh,
see some. Hello.
no, I just said no questions.
I see something here. If we don't have any questions, and I kind of see it in part, and sometimes I have a hard time explaining stuff. So if you see this, help me out. Uh, I think I see the creation story that's been right before our eyes, and I, for one, I have missed this. But I want to show you a couple of things, and let's take a look at this. Look at Matthew chapter 5. I'm going to show you something in Matthew chapter 5 and in Luke, and then we'll discuss it. And I want to tie it in with light and darkness that Pastor did yesterday, and looking at it from the perspective of the creation story, okay? What invites us to go into the darkness? How do you intermingle and create, intermingle light and darkness and create? So I think it's well, not simple, but right here before us, and I, for one, I'm just seeing it. I want to show you something here. I'm in Matthew chapter 5. I want to just read two verses, then I'm going to show you something in Luke chapter 6. But in Matthew chapter 5, I'm going to start at verse 43. It says, "You have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemy and pray for those who persecute you." Okay, I just want to read those two verses. Uh, I also want to read these in Luke. Luke chapter 6, verse 27. And I'm kind of starting in the middle of this, but this is the Beatitudes, right, guys? Beatitudes that I, in a way that I had not seen them as tying them back to creation. Okay. Verse 27 says, "But I say unto you, hear it, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you. Whoever hits you on the cheek, offer him the other also. And whosoever take away your coat, do not withhold your shirt from him either. Give to everyone who asks of you, and whoever takes away what is yours, do not demand it back." Let's stop there and look at this. Uh, this is Jesus talking with the Beatitude. The first thing, a couple of concepts I want to look at, things that are true. One, love. being able to understand love. Love comes, this type of love that he's talking about uh, comes from the inside. This is coming from you creating a womb inside of you. This is coming from your bowels. This is coming from you engaging every part of your being. This is coming from meditation and prayer. So uh, you look at this thing. The other principle that is very strong and just as important here is the Aramaic and Hebrew understanding of enemy is one who falls out of rhythm. It also talks about one who hates and one who walks around in a disguise. Okay, so the enemy here is you. The enemy is you. We have ways of our feelings and emotions about different things, about different people, and that is what this is talking about. When you can line these things up, when you can look at when you can look at, I hate using people names, but when you can look at a politician or someone who you despise, you're looking at an aspect of self. So what this invites you to do is go inside of yourself. Go inside of yourself and meditate. Go inside of yourself and create this space for something to fill. What is the space that you're creating out of love? You're creating a womb that you're going to fill and that you're going to give birth to, give birth to something. So it is the intermingling, if you will, back to Genesis, the light part of you, that is what that part is enlightened, is the part of you that desires to be something more. It desires to see what love is, desire to experience this. Or you have never experienced this before. That is the darkness. And when you intermingle those, when you meditate on those and you allow them to intertwine together, and that is what fills your womb, the understanding that comes out of that, the light that comes out of that. It is the light in you that invites the darkness. It is the light in us that attracts the darkness. So if I have a decision or thought, you know what, I don't like feeling this way. I've got to do this another way. I've got to get better at this. I need to meditate on this. Then I'm inviting these things in me, I'm inviting the mingling, that enlightenment, that revelation, that thought that comes up that says, Ron, this is wrong. Ron, you can do better than that, is the light part. That is the love that is already there. But it invites the darkness. It invites that portion that is in the deep that I'm not familiar with, and the intermingling, depending on my desires, the intermingling of those two is what creates the love that is in me for your enemy. The enemy being me. The enemy may be external so that I can see. I have a physical vision of what that looks like, but the battle is on the inside. So when I do that, I am creating that space is the love. It is the harmony. It is the becoming, as Jesus said, be ye perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. So this beatitudes that he gave us is an opportunity to create, to go to beginning and to engage in the creation process. So it is an ongoing thing. It never ends. The darkness is always there because there's always an aspect of self that needs to grow. There's always an aspect of self that needs to be enlightened. So as we feel these, and as we open ourselves up and trust who we are and trust this process, this journey that we've begun, we not only become creators, we change the world. And then it is in that aspect that when you change self, that same energy that changes you internally is seen in you or on you from the external. And that is what affects other people. Does this make sense at all?
I see it. Go ahead, whoever came in. Or someone else came in to say something? Okay. Well, I see it. One of the things that Claude says about that word love is that it means to produce or to grow something from a secret place.
Yes.
And
yes.
And when Jesus said, "But I say to you, hear," to you who hear, he was actually saying, "I say to you who can comprehend or who can understand." Yes. So what he's actually telling them, there's a deeper meaning to what I'm saying. And to those of you who understand or can comprehend what I am saying, you love your enemies. Embrace your enemy. If you can't embrace those things that you rebel against inside of you and bring them to a place of balance with the universe, then that's the difficulty in loving yourself. And if you find difficulty in loving yourself, you also find difficulty in loving other people. The idea of doing good is talked about doing good to those who seek to corrupt you or to change you from who you are, what you believe. So that's what I see here. I'm done.
Yes, sir, and that is exactly right, Pastor. I'm gonna read something here. Any other questions or comments, though? Does this make sense?
Got a question.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you bring them into balance with the universe?
Through practice and desire. That's just it. There is no time that it says, okay, I've achieved this or I've reached this goal or that goal. We go from place to place or from I hate to say it like this, but it's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing process. And it's one of those things, I guess I would say, we've said in the past, you're seeking something and one day you're there and you don't know how you got there, but you recognize it. You recognize it. I listened to something this morning, what got me to thinking about this, and I remember something I read, which I'm going to read to you in a minute. It talked about meditation and being aware of your breathing. It called it conscious breathing. But in the end, what he says is, if you're only breathing for self, then you're not accomplishing anything. There's nothing sacred about that. Your breath is breathing for every living creature. So my wanting to improve self, my falling short and improving self, I have to recognize those feelings and emotions come to me because I'm breathing for all of mankind. I'm breathing for everything that exists. So I made me think, wow, I'm going to stop thinking about this from a selfish, Ron, I haven't arrived yet, or Ron, beating myself up. This isn't about Ron. This is about mankind. So I don't know how to really answer how do you know you arrived. I think it's just a feeling. I think it's something we have to experience.
Can I help?
Please.
Did you say how did you know you arrived, or how did you get others there, Kathy?
How do you get others there?
How do you get there?
Well, both. I don't know. Both. Explain it to me.
This is what I'm saying. No, right. What I'm saying is that those things that set you at odds with other people, ask you why. Why does that affect you? Because it is not the other person's problem, it's yours. And what you'll find is that you chose to respond that way. And we respond that way by choice so frequently until we miss it. For example, somebody, if I say, Kathy, you're so stupid, that's it. You laugh. But if someone who you perceive don't like you say, Kathy, you're so stupid, that's a different response, isn't it?
Right.
So why is there a different response? It's a choice, isn't it?
Right.
So what happens is you choose when you are purpose in your life, when you have a deep desire to be in balance or be one with the universe or in rhythm with the universe, you catch yourself and remind yourself that's not who I am. And when you do that, you'll get to the place where you can do it without thinking about it. And at the same time that you're doing that, you are becoming a mirror for those who are around you. And that is one of the meanings of this word, ahaba, love. It means also to be a mirror. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. We know that people respond more to what we do than what we say. You can say that you're loving kindness, but are you mirroring that? You can say that nothing upsets you, but is that the truth? And when it does, how do you respond to it? Because I don't know anyone on this phone who has not been upset and who will not be upset in the future. The question is, how do you respond to it? I'm done, Ron.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your question, Kathy. I want to read something to you, and hopefully we'll continue the discussion. And guys, if this doesn't make sense, please let me know. Okay, I'm gonna read this from a writing called "Blessing of the Cosmos." Okay, but I'm gonna read this. It says the word for light in Aramaic is Nura, Nuhra, means the illumination of what is unknown. Light and darkness are not warring opposite as they are in Greek philosophy. But in ancient Aramaic or Hebrew, the Creator brought forth both light, that which is known, and darkness, that which is unknown. The creation story in the Hebrew Bible describes the interplay between these two essential parts. Listen to this, of an ongoing sacred creative process of the universe. You are the ongoing part. We are the ongoing. So if I say, Ron, I'm disappointed in you, and you didn't handle that right. You angry at somebody, and you have ill feelings toward them. That comes from the same place that my disdain for Donald Trump or for anyone else. It's the same energy. That is the unknown part that invites me to say, hey, let's take a look at this. There's something else here. So we look at those things as being two separate things. We look at known and unknown as being the opposites of each other, but they are the opposite ends of the same spectrum, which is who we are. So it says the inner ongoing sacred creative process of the universe. Let me see. So we can also see light and dark as two aspects of our own consciousness. What we know in our being is the fullest sense of ourselves, the unifying element of the psyche that allows us to say I am. What we don't yet know are the divine resources within us that we must yet that in us that we have yet to discover. Excuse me. Let me say that again. What we don't yet know are the divine resources within us that we have yet to discover. So, in other words, we are creators. And when we look at that, I think yesterday we even talked about the Cro-Magnon man, the Neanderthal. Maybe all of those are us. Maybe it's talking about all the way down to our most primitive self, and it's showing the evolution of man, how we have grown, the apex of who the human is recognizing that he is Elohim, recognizing that he is the one who interwovens the universe, interwovens what we know as the universe, heaven, the earth, and the love and the compassion that we're seeking. It comes through us. And maybe, just maybe, those ill feelings, those uncertainties, those times that we beat ourselves up are just invitations so that we can create, so that we can be the creators that we are designed to be, that we understand light and darkness now. We understand that darkness is nothing to fear. We understand one is just known and one is just unknown, and those two play a role in helping us be who we are trying to become. And I don't want to talk too much. What you guys think? Talk to me.
I'll talk to you. When we look at, our mindset, the way we have been taught is that it's either light or it's darkness. That's how we deal with the scriptures. That's how we deal with right and wrong. We have been taught to see it that way. But when we say that there's some good in everyone, what we're actually saying is there's divinity, there's light in everyone. Light and darkness are not set in concrete, meaning that in light there is darkness, just as there's light in darkness.
Mm-hmm.
If it were no darkness in light, there would be no shade. And one of the best ways to see darkness in the midst of light is in the evening when the sun is setting or going down. So what are we talking about? There is a gradation between light and darkness. It is not one or the other. It is always both. Light and darkness are not a duality at all. They are one. They are one, and they are a gradation of each other. Any questions about that or comments?
When you say gradation, explain that big word.
Okay, I'm going to make it a little word. Gradation is when something goes from dark to light, And what happened is yesterday I used an example. I think it was yesterday, whatever day it was. If you look at a smokestack, right, and you see that dark smoke bellowing out of that chimney, and you look up and follow the smoke, it gets to a place where you can't see it anymore, right? That's the gradation. It goes from being really, really dark that you cannot see through it to light that you can see and don't see it. Does that make sense?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got you.
Okay. And it's the reverse also. You look at the light and you follow it back to the chimney, you see the thick smoke. So what happened? There's a gradation from the light to the darkness in both ways, okay?
Okay.
Gradation is just another way to say it gradually gets dark or it gradually turns to light. That's all. Okay?
Okay.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Can you elaborate, Pastor, on what you just said, that light and dark are not dualities?
They are not duality because they are attached to each other. There is no separation between the two. One is just more readily seen than the other. When we talk about it spiritually, we are talking about moving from the unknown to the known. And if you look at our journey, we started this journey in the middle of the unknown. And once we started in the middle of the unknown, we gradually moved from it and we became more and more enlightened as our desires increased, as we were shown understandings from the Hebrew and the Aramaic, and that continues to this day. So if it's a gradation, there is no separation. So it makes it one thing. You just see the midst of the darkness because you're in it. And again, darkness is not something evil in the way we define evil. Darkness is simply the unknown. Does that help, Audrey?
So being enlightened and not being enlightened is also not a duality?
No, it's not. I thought it was. I seriously thought it was. And the reason I don't see it that way anymore is because you gradually become enlightened. And if there was no light in you, there would be no you could not gradually become enlightened. The question, the scripture says, just make sure that your light is not darkness. I think there was something Kathy mentioned yesterday.
Yes. It is also hello?
Go ahead, Ron. I just said it was what I asked the question about yesterday.
Okay. I was just going to say it is also akin to when we talk about being ripe and unripe. You are not aware. You just don't know. It doesn't mean that though it is something, two separate things. You just have not moved to that place of maturity. So what we're talking about here is spiritual awareness, moving to that place of spiritual maturity, moving out of the place of darkness. Darkness is a tool. And when we, I remember, and I want to talk, this kind of talk about the separation, the wound that is created for something, for understanding. When you, let's say you are not very good at math like I was, and you need a tutor. Have you ever had, and you really have a desire to understand this? That's the key. You see it in part, and you're working hard at it, and you have that aha moment Why do you have that aha moment? Because your desire was there to see this, and you worked diligently. You put your all in it to see this, and that aha, that desire is what created the space for the answer to be there. And when you have that moment, that womb is filled. That open space is filled. So you are no longer in darkness in that place. You have become aware, at least in that particular aspect of your life. You have become aware of it. Now, back it up a little bit. I hated math so much, I made it an enemy, and it was hard for me to understand it. And it wasn't until probably 10th, 11th grade or so, I had a teacher who could help me understand things, concepts that other people could not, because she showed me how to relax and to look at it and quit being so intense and hating this thing so bad. So your desire in this aspect of what we're talking about, this type of enlightenment, or it is your heart, your desire that invites you to see this, your feelings and emotions, all of you is engaged in this. And I talked about it from the heart because that's where it starts. That love, that thing that you experience that cannot be explained is a part of it that you're engaging. Does my example help at all?
One of the most memorable aha moments I think we had. Do you remember when we first met and Janice was taping things for us?
Yeah.
And we were looking at the word adultery, and it said that only a woman commit adultery. And we said, no, that's not it at all. That was the first time as a group that I remember us contradicting something based upon what we felt in our hearts. And later on, we began to see it more clearly when we looked at how Jesus dealt with females in terms of protecting them from the brutality of men, as those men were about to stone this lady. So that in itself I see that as one of our aha moments. And we gradually moved to the place where we see what we see now in regards to that. Does that make sense? Audrey and others?
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Okay.
Sage, this is Ramel. I think I understand it, but then I need an example of duality. Would that be spiritual awareness versus religion? That's not on that because they're not on the same, they're not gradations? I'm a little lost.
When I saw the word, when I saw what I saw in terms of, matter of fact, when I actually saw this, let me clear that up first.
Okay.
When I actually saw this, it was when I spoke about, or gave an example rather, of the smoke coming out of billowing out of the chimney, and how it dispersed the further up it got.
Okay.
And it clicked. If there is a wall between church and us,
Mm-hmm.
then how did we get past the wall?
Oh.
We didn't get past the wall because there wasn't a wall. It is our questions, our inquisitiveness, that moved us to raise these questions about what we were learning in Sunday school and hearing from the pulpit and reading in the scriptures and even teaching, because we most of us were teachers in Sunday schools anyway. And questioning that, we gradually moved to a place where we start searching. And during the course of our search, we found each other, or we were led to each other. That was a gradual process. It was also serendipitous. So that's how I see the church spiritual thing, okay?
Okay, so let me make sure I think I understand this. So that wall that we perceive is like when you gave the example of the smoke going up in the air,
Mm-hmm.
and it continues going, but to us it's out of our sight.
Yes.
So that moment in there would be the same realization. That's our we're crossing into questions, and that wall is no longer, that perception of the wall never really existed.
The wall never really existed. Our perception did.
Right. The wall never existed. Okay. All right.
You know what you were asking about? Does it mean to be saved? That's
Say
what you're
that-
asking.
I'm asking.
What is salvation? What is deliverance? Deliverance is not becoming a member of the church. Deliverance is becoming aware of the unknown, the spiritual unknown. It's moving from the stories that we've heard and what we've been taught as being rooted in Scripture, is moving from that to by understanding what the Scriptures are really saying. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So as we do that, what's taking place? Deliverance. We are being delivered from the unknown. And that's the reason that salvation or deliverance is a continuous process. Has nothing to do with church or baptism, water baptism, nothing at all. Has everything to do with being delivered from the things that we thought to be true, and the unknown truth about them, the built-in wisdom that they speak of. That's our course of deliverance. Any questions or comments about that? Or better still, can you see deliverance / salvation the way it was just described, as opposed to having to join the church? That's not rhetorical.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yes.
I'm still a little confused about whether that's a duality or not.
Again, we did. If it were a duality, and that wall was there when we jumped across the wall, we would have had all the understanding. We would have had all the enlightenment that we have now. How long have we been on this journey? And every time that we talk, we are enlightened more and more and more. And that removes us further and further away from those things that we thought were true one time. Now the question becomes, at what point did we get enlightened? So get enlightened to the point where we are separated, totally separated from the church thing. Because right now, the things that we learned in church and the things that the ways that we responded in church, if we go back to that setting, we can still experience the same thing. We can feel it. The difference is we understand now what the words mean more than we did while we were there. Does that make sense, Audrey?
So duality is a misperception on our part?
I do think duality is a perception. I do. Now,
Yeah.
now don't if you can show me different. I'm not just talking about you. I'm talking about anybody, because that's what I think based upon what I was shown the other day. But help me also, please.
Yeah, I believe there are two different things that kind of we're talking about here in the way that we look at darkness. And that may be where the confusion comes in at. So the darkness at the beginning of Genesis is not talking about something that is just viewed as just being evil or complete chaos in the sense that we think about it. It is chaos as it relates to earthly things or that which was created afterwards. If we think about darkness in terms of being all possibilities or all things for which anything can be created from, that is what happened at the beginning of Genesis. That is, in a sense, what happens with our imaginations. That's what happens with our dreams, and that particular darkness where we have the unlimited ability to create from what seems like nothing. The same way that a black hole contains everything, or the color black contains all colors whatsoever. Then the other darkness that we are talking about and considering looking at, as even the verses that Ron mentioned, are talking about things from like hate and evil, those trespassing against us, and things of that nature. The pivotal point where all of this started to change for us, and as we started on this journey, was when Pastor Richard told us to concentrate on the red in the Bible, those words that Jesus said, and in those even those verses that Ron gave just now from the Beatitudes, every single thing that Jesus keeps talking about is, as Ron and Pastor mentioned a little while ago, love, keeping your heart open, not being as rigid and judgmental and closing off. And as you accept those things are not so judgmental, and we don't automatically, because this is what essentially we're not doing, and we do a lot less of, is automatically calling things evil, so to speak. And we keep our hearts open. That allows us to then automatically understand, have more insight, our third eye open, et cetera. Something else I was about to say just now. Oh, but yeah, I remember now. So when we talk about that transition, we talk about that wall that was up. We talk about how we are now different from how we were when we were in the church, and the things we have a different understanding of those things now. That is the thing that has changed. What has changed is how we relate to the scriptures, what they mean to us, and the impact, in a sense, that they have on our lives, how the scriptures shape our everyday life, how it shapes our perception, how it shapes our interactions, et cetera. So that's what I see. It's like as I was reading through some of the scriptures, and Jesus just kept on like just trying to open their hearts up more and more and more, even saying like, hey, it's not enough just to automatically just love those people who you see immediately benefit you. He was like, anyone, can do that it seems like, that seems like, but what he's actually speaking against are things like, as he considers evil, hating, trying to steal, doing just anything that seems to be cutting down another individual. And as we internally or with our quote unquote own walk, as we continue to open ourselves up and work on those things internally and with ourselves, that's what opens up all of the promises, so to speak. That is that secret reward. The secret reward is the understanding and the mastering and actually starting to realize that you're Jesus and acting like Jesus and bringing all of those miracles in a sense in your own life and bringing those miracles into the world. I'm finished at the moment.
May I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Would it be safe to say that duality does exist in the material world because we're looking with our eyes?
It absolutely does in that sense, because we're separating in a sense and categorizing or saying that this needs to be eliminated and that needs to be eliminated, and I don't approve. So to go back to the verse, for example, when God talks about, Jesus talks about someone, I'm gonna read this verse, and this one comes from the Aramaic, and everyone's familiar with this verse. It talks about the cheek. It says, and unto him who strikes you on your cheek, you must, it gives the actual word, fakak, but, and unto him who strikes you on your cheek, you must offer unto him the other. And from the one who takes your robe or your coat, you must not keep back even your tunic or your shirt. To all who ask you, you must give unto him. And the one who takes of your own things, don't demand it back. And it even goes on to, like, as we talk about, God revenging, the vengeance is God and stuff. It even talks about in verse 35 about God actually being kind toward the evil ones and toward the ungrateful ones. And it's like throughout the entire Beatitudes, Jesus is trying to change the perspective and the way for which we interact with those things that we're told or we're to be upset about or to feel like it's a transgression upon us. And none of this is for anyone but us. And it's that right there that is taking away that duality, because right here, the duality exists. And Jesus is here trying to tell them to break down this duality. And it is from that once the duality breaks down, that, like I said, the reward and discovery then starts to take place or takes place more. I finished.
So you're saying that when Jesus came, he showed us how to live with each other, how to react to each other, how to just like light and darkness. He's showing us how to be both on this planet. That's the only way I can say it.
Yes, Charles. Because notice, Jesus is not actually. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but with all the stuff that happened against Jesus, Jesus is not here condemning anyone. Jesus, of course, is trying to actually point out when he talks about an evil tree basically producing evil and a good tree producing good. He's trying to get the people to see who it is that they have prompted up as their leaders and who are they are following. He talks about the blind leading the blind, etc. But it's not to actually condemn those people so much to say, hey, these people are going to hell. He's basically just like giving them an objective lesson is saying, hey, if you're falling behind this, this is the wrong way. But his message actually applies to anyone. Anyone can take the message, just as Nicodemus came to take the message. It's just more so like, hey, that's the wrong road. That's all that is being said. Keep yourself open. Do not follow along with, of course, what was going on at the time, which, let's be honest, much of the condemning and the evilness and the hatreds and stuff like that, which is still in, I guess, tied to religion today and even in our own country, it's put us and put everyone and whoever will listen on the right path.
Gotcha.
Audrey, does that help you any?
Yes. Yeah,
Go ahead,
I mean, it makes it even more clear how how I am one with somebody else. Because if there's no
That's it.
if there's no duality, there's just a gradation, then it's much easier to see how that I'm one with that person.
Great.
Exactly. You just described it there, and that takes us back to the beginning, how we started the evening. But let me give one more example, because while everybody was talking, I looked something up. In Genesis, when it goes through the creation story, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Verse 5 saying, God called the light day, and the darkness He called night. And there was an evening, there was a morning, day one day. That word, those two words, evening and morning, both contain light and darkness. You notice it does not say night. It does not say night. It is not talking about, in other words, if you are, can I ask you to mute your phones, please? Thank you. If you are living to be living to understand yourself and understand what being ripened means, and live trying to understand love and trying to understand the concepts that we've been studying, then you are not in darkness. Listen at this. When you look up the word morning, morning is Hebrews 12:42. It says the dawn of the day, when the day breaks. It comes from a word 1239, means to, listen at this, to make an inquiry, to seek something, to care, to have concern, and to meditate. To have concern, to care, and to meditate. So when you move to that place where you no longer see Ron, you no longer see Audrey, you see the other people, your connection to other people, and your heart goes out to them. There is no separation. When you start to living from the soul rather than from the mind, there is no separation. There is no duality. Evening talks about the time of sunset, the time between sunset and darkness. So both of those concepts contain darkness and it contains light. That's who we are. And it goes back to when we were looking at, we were talking about, I make good and I make evil. That is no duality either. We all go through periods of unripeness, just like a fruit. And we have to have those periods of unripeness and or darkness before there can be light. But they're one and the same. So again, the Beatitudes is again talking about those back to the morning part of the evening and the morning, first day, the morning part, to seek, to be concerned, to meditate. That is our invitation. That is who we are, and that is what opens up in you. And even those points that we get angry at ourselves because we feel like we're slipping or we're doing something or having thoughts we should not have, those too are invitations. Those are invitations for us to meditate, not to beat yourself up, because you are connected to everything that has breath. And maybe it's somebody else struggling. Maybe that's what you're feeling. Maybe that's the frustration or the disappointment that you're feeling. So what we think? Are we okay?
Yes, Ron.
I think we are.
Yeah. So again, Matthew 4:3, you have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbors and hate your enemies. That's duality. You have heard. If you don't get beyond that, but he says, but that's not the case. But I say, the word says, love your enemies. They are one and the same. And pray for those who persecute you. They are not separate from you.
It's just like Ron, God said he let it rain on the just and the unjust. He's showing us how to be together. We just ain't caught it yet. Not only we hadn't caught it, we catching it now, but we hadn't caught it then, because he's showing us how everything works together if you believe like Jesus said he believed.
I love when we do have aha moments, and the creator of the universe shows us that we are headed in the right direction, or not that we've arrived by any means, but we're headed in the right direction. We knew about the meditation. We knew, I for one just hadn't put all of it together. All those ill feelings and the good feelings are all one and the same. You have those for a purpose. It's all the same purpose. Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Nothing. I was just going to say all of that just takes us back to the beginning. We are still creating. We are still creating this thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Pastor.
I see this as showing us the fine details now. The adjustments that are taking place without understanding is showing us the what is it? What word I want to use? The positive. I'm sorry. The insightful nuances of what we've been talking about. It's almost like the subject line was everything that exists. And A was duality, and B is gradation. A is duality because you see duality with your eyes, and we've been taught that everything is dual. And B is the gradation of spirituality. So when we see with our eye, that's what we see, good in everyone. It just and they need an opportunity to move from that space that they're occupying to a space where they can see with their eye, and at that juncture, as Audrey said, it becomes clearer even to that person that we are one, and I believe that we are being fine-tuned. That's all. Thank you.
I agree. Anyone else? I hope that's a good place to rest and kind of mull this over and see if we have any questions Saturday. Would that be okay?
Ron, just
Yes,
before
sir.
we quit, since we are in the Beatitudes, and just to add to the last point before we quit, I want to go to later on in the Beatitudes, and for anyone who's joining, both Matthew and Luke are basically giving account of Jesus' sermon on the Beatitudes together. So this is, both from their perspectives. So with that said, going to Luke 6 and 45, when Jesus is talking about the heart, as we were talking about earlier, the love and the matters of our heart. So he's bringing it around, and I'm going to just read it for that point. From a good man, the good treasures that are in his heart goes out good things, and a bad man, from evil treasures that are in his heart goes out evil things. For from the abundance of the heart, the lips speak. And going back to the point about figs coming from thorns, bad fruit not being able to come from a good tree, and those things, Jesus is talking about the inner condition, as we've been talking about, the entire time this evening through these Beatitudes. So I just wanted to add that one point before we wrapped up. I'm finished.
You know what, Sheldon? I want to apologize, guys. My power went out early this morning, and I'm looking at the clock, and I got 7:33, and it's not 7:33. So I thought we were further along. I mean, I don't mean to cut it off if we got more to discuss. I'm sorry.
No, it's not. There's no apology needed. I just wanted to, as we continue to look at the scriptures over, and over again, and get more and more insight of them, and as we were talking about the duality, and what Jesus was trying to tell us, and how that has opened us up on this journey. I just wanted to add to make sure that last little part got in. But please, no apologies necessary, even if it just meant that everyone just heard that and thought about it. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Sheldon. Anyone else? I tell you something else. Pastors say this stuff all the time, and sometimes it doesn't register until later. But I do see that every verse in this book ties together, how one supports the other and creates a clearer picture for us to see. And when we do see it, we see ourselves, and that to me is that's special to see that and appreciate it. I also see that we are moving to a place like this, talking about if you go to someone tomorrow and say, we had a Bible study last night and talked about creation, the creation story from the Beatitudes, that's hard to explain. It's kind of one of those things that you have to experience, and I think that's where we are now. We talk about them and we readily see them, but you don't know how much we're absorbing. We don't know how much stuff we're gaining, because it's not so much the words anymore. That it's your desire and what the Creator is showing us, the enlightenment that we're receiving. So that to me is beautiful as well.
Ron, I agree with you 100%. One of the things that I'm most proud of the way we deal with things is when we get clarity on something, we don't hold what we once saw so tightly until we're going to fight to hold on to it. We open it up in order for us to be able to see what's inside of the seed, the covering of the seed. What does the inside of it look like? I'm most appreciative that the Creator has granted us this sense of unicity, to the extent that all we want is to see righteousness, to understand the wisdom of truth. That's it. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, you guys know how it goes. Maybe we'll pick this up Saturday. That will be what I'm looking towards, I suppose, unless someone has something else or whatever happens. You know how it is. We talk about what we talk about. So, but please keep in mind if there are any questions or concerns about this, by all means, this is where we'll begin. Okay. Thank you, everyone, and I hope you have an awesome week. Okay. Have a good night.
Same.
You too.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. You too.
Everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Right.